There is something sitting in your driveway or your garage right now that is quietly doing more damage to your financial future than almost anything else in your life. Not your rent, not your groceries, not your streaming subscriptions. The thing most people never think to question, because we have all been told, without anyone explicitly saying it, that this is just what adults do. You get a car, you make payments, you move on. Except the math on that arrangement is genuinely devastating, and most people never actually look at it. Americans currently owe over $1.6 trillion in auto loans. That number is larger than the entire economy of most countries. Roughly 1 in 3 Americans is making a car payment right now. The average payment on a new vehicle has climbed to around $745 a month. Even used cars are averaging over $500 monthly, and the loans are not getting shorter. The average new car loan now stretches close to 70 months, which is nearly 6 years of payments on something that is guaranteed to be worth less every single month you own it. You are committing to 6 years of financial obligation on an asset designed to lose value from the moment you sign. Generation Z is spending approximately 20% of their after-tax income on vehicle expenses alone. 20%. That is the same percentage financial advisors recommend spending on housing. Most people would consider it absurd to spend as much keeping a car as keeping a roof over their head. And yet here we are. Since 2019, average car payments have nearly doubled. Auto loan debt as a whole has surged by close to 64% over the past decade. The monthly payment is not even the full picture. According to the American Automobile Association, the true all-in cost to own and operate a new vehicle runs over $12,000 a year when you account for everything. Gas alone costs the average driver over $2,200 annually. Insurance adds another $2,000 to $2,700. Maintenance and repairs average around $126 a month on a new car, and that is assuming nothing significant goes wrong, which something always does. Brake pads, tires, transmission work, air conditioning repairs, batteries. The list of things that will need attention over 6 years of ownership is long, and none of it is cheap. Every dollar in that pile is gone permanently. It is not building equity. It is not generating any return. It is just disappearing. Then there is depreciation, which is where the real damage happens. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. Before you have even shown it to anyone, you are already down thousands of dollars. After the first year, you are looking at about 20% total loss. By year 5, most vehicles have lost around 60% of what you paid. A $50,000 car becomes worth maybe $20,000 in 5 years. The average new vehicle loses approximately $5,000 in value every single year during that window. That is $5,000 of wealth that simply evaporates annually on top of everything else you are spending. Some vehicles are dramatically worse. A high-end luxury sedan can depreciate by 64% over 5 years, representing losses of $90,000 or more from the original purchase price. A full-size luxury SUV can lose $60,000 or more in the same window. Even certain hybrids marketed as financially sensible still shed close to $40,000 in value over 5 years. These are not abstract numbers. This is real money that real people are losing. Money that could have been building towards something instead of disappearing into the resale market. Here's the piece most people never stop to calculate. Every dollar tied up in car ownership is a dollar that is not working for you anywhere else. While your car is depreciating, that same money invested in a basic index fund would be compounding. The math on this is staggering when you actually run it. The cost difference between a modest practical vehicle and a high-end luxury one over 5 years of ownership can easily exceed $90,000. Take that $90,000 and invest it at a conservative 6% return over 30 years, and it becomes over $500,000. You are not just choosing between a practical car and a fancy one. You are choosing between transportation and $500,000 in future wealth. The situation compounds further because most people do not buy one car and hold it for 30 years. They cycle through vehicles every 5 years or so, always wanting the newer model, the updated features, the improved safety ratings. The lifetime opportunity cost of following the typical American car buying patterns across a working life is estimated at close to $2 million in missed wealth building. $2 million that never got invested, never compounded, never became anything because it kept flowing into dealerships. The psychology driving all of this has been carefully constructed over decades. Car companies have spent enormous amounts of money conditioning people to tie their sense of self to what they drive. The commercials do not lead with reliability or cost per mile anymore. They sell a feeling, a lifestyle, a version of yourself. Driving through beautiful scenery, looking like you have figured something out. They have convinced people that they work hard and therefore deserve luxury, that life is short and boring. Transportation is beneath them. It is the same mechanism that pushes any purchase nobody actually needs. Except the price tag here runs into the tens of thousands of dollars. People will spend months comparing smartphones to save $200 on the better deal, then walk into a dealership and sign a contract for $60,000 worth of future payments without running any of the numbers on what that actually costs. They negotiate carefully when buying a house because it feels like a serious financial decision. They treat car purchases like an impulse buy. The financing industry has made this easier by training everyone to think in monthly payment terms rather than total cost. The question at the dealership is never what is your budget for this purchase. It is what monthly payment can you handle. Those are very different questions with very different answers, and the dealership knows exactly why they ask the second one. Leasing takes this one step further. The payments are lower. You get a newer car every few years. It sounds like a reasonable arrangement. What is actually happening is that you are renting a depreciating asset. You are paying for someone else's depreciation cost while building zero equity of your own. When the lease ends, you have nothing except the accumulated payments and the option to start the process over again. It is paying rent on a car indefinitely with no possible path to ownership, and many people stay in this loop for their entire adult lives. The people profiting from these arrangements have structured everything to keep you in the cycle. Trade-in programs are designed to roll whatever you still owe on your current vehicle into the new loan, which means you are starting your next purchase already underwater. Loyalty incentives make you feel like you are getting a deal when you upgrade. Extended loan terms lower the monthly payment while increasing the total amount paid. The dealership makes more money on financing than on the cars themselves. The banks collect interest. The insurance companies collect premiums required by the lender on any finance vehicle. Everyone in the transaction is making money except the person making the payments. When life gets difficult, a car payment becomes a trap. Lose your job and you still owe the full loan balance on an asset worth less than you owe. You cannot simply stop paying without the car being repossessed and your credit destroyed, and you will likely still owe the difference between what the car sells for and what you borrowed. The payment follows you through job changes, life changes, moves to different cities. It limits your options because it is a fixed obligation you cannot negotiate your way out of. Financial flexibility, the ability to take a risk on a new opportunity or weather an unexpected setback, requires not being locked into a large fixed payment on something losing value every month. The thing that makes all of this particularly hard to see clearly is how normalized it has become. Making a car payment feels as natural as paying rent because essentially everyone around you is doing it. The alternative, driving something older and reliable while investing the difference, looks like deprivation from the outside. But the person driving the 15-year-old Toyota with 180,000 miles and no payment is doing something very different with the money that would have gone to a dealership every month. They are watching it compound. They are building something. They have simply refused to accept the premise that driving something newer than you need is worth $2 million across a lifetime. Transportation is a tool. It gets you from one place to another. The version of that tool that accomplishes that goal is often dramatically cheaper than the version our conditioning tells us we deserve. The gap between those two versions, invested patiently over decades, is the difference between retiring with real security and continuing to wonder where the money went.